welcome to my first attempt at making a video that is shorter than an hour. I hope you appreciate my show of restraint. I figured I would start this new journey of mine with a very common, very lighthearted video type, namely thoughts and opinions related to K-pop that have been on my mind for a while. I cannot guarantee that these will be particularly juicy or unpopular or anything. They're just things that I wanted to briefly discuss with a slightly more casual tone than a full-length video essay or something. If you have any thoughts on my thoughts, or if you have your own opinions you want to discuss, feel free to drop a comment. With that out of the way, I hope you enjoy. Y'all need to shut up about K. If you're not in the know, K is a member of the group and team under Hype Labels Japan and was also a prominent contestant in i-dle, the show that formed in i-dle. i-dle aired in 2020, over 4 years ago at this point, and there are certain people who, to this very day, still bring up events from that show in order to trash K, which I find completely pointless. Team and Hypen have a decent amount of interactions. We know that the members are friends, especially the members who survived i-dle together, but as a fan, it's difficult to enjoy these interactions because every time K so much as breathes in Hypen's direction, without fail, there will be someone ready to bring up that he wasn't on his best behavior during i-dle. I've seen the clips that these people pull up, especially the ones involving him scolding Nikki, and I have never fully understood what the big deal is. Was K as nice as he could have been? No, but quite frankly, it wasn't his job to be. I give a lot of grace to these situations in survival shows, partially because I know that editors and showrunners are going to overplay stuff for drama, but also because these kinds of shows are basically pressure cookers, and I would be amazed if anyone could deal with that environment in a completely composed, healthy way, you know? I feel the same about what transpired between the Dream Academy contestants or whatever, or any other survival show contestants, because being rude and stressed is, quite frankly, normal behavior in such a high-pressure environment. Anyways, regardless of what transpired, let me reiterate, 4 years ago, and whether or not K was justified in his behavior towards Nikki or any other trainee, I still see no reason why that continues to be brought up today. The Hypen members have repeatedly brought up that they don't want to dwell on i-dle, and I believe that at least one of them has told fans not to watch the show if they haven't already, so they clearly don't want to be that closely associated with whatever transpired on the show. Additionally, let me also reiterate that, as far as fans are concerned, the members of Team and Hypen are friends, or at least they're friendly with each other, so any attempts at pitting them against each other in this manner would be going against the wishes of the members. Not that fans who pull this kind of shit actually care about the opinions of their idols, but I think it should be said anyways. I know that there's also other shit that's transpired against the two fandoms, and also other shit that's been said about K, especially when those dating rumors with Kazuha popped up however many months ago, but I'll be honest and say that I do just block or mute people who drag anything remotely fan-war-y into my field of view, so I'm not as aware on the details of those situations. I know there was something about Nicholas not using the proper honorifics once or something like that, or that time when fans somehow managed to turn the Hypen members calling Haruha cute into them bashing Nikki. I don't know that much about these situations. I'll just see 1 or 2 tweets and immediately start muting people. I do not care. I do not want this in my life. I think I'll close this opinion by quickly clarifying another somewhat related issue that I have seen floating around a bit. There was always a plan for 2 groups to exist for the sake of the Dark Moon lore. As soon as i-dle finished airing, allegedly K was pulled aside and informed that he would be debuting in another group. We also have that K and Weiju were included as werewolf characters in the Drunk Dazed music video back in early 2021, and if I remember correctly, the copyrights for Dark Moon the Blood Altar and Dark Moon the Grey City were filed around the same times. That's not to say that Hype didn't intend for Team's initial popularity to be paired with Hypen's, but I do want to say that claiming that Team is copying Hypen or anything along those lines is fairly baseless and uninformed. That's all I have to say about this. I know that there are other stupid fan wars going on, but this particular one baffles me because from my point of view, we are given a perfect chance to have a fan alliance of sorts, and instead this shit is going on. It's really frustrating. Security should be allowed to push fans, especially at airports. What are you even doing at the airport if you don't have a flight to somewhere you need to be? This opinion was inspired by that Boy Next Door security guard from almost a year ago, I think, but it's been on my mind even longer than that. I genuinely do not understand people's needs to see idols at the airport, whether it be in airport pictures or in person, and I think that because of that, I have very little sympathy for people who get tousled by security guards. I mean, I guess I understand that having press taking pictures upon arrival is just an industry standard at this point, regardless of how weird I find it, but fans also showing up has never not been weird for me for the entirety of the time that I've been a fan of K-pop. When fans show up to these kinds of events is the wrong word. To these kinds of situations, they're essentially showing up when idols are not on the clock. To me, it's a complete invasion of privacy and honestly just really dehumanizing. I mean, you see these pictures and videos of fans swarming around groups like they're circus animals. It's absolutely insane. And then, the fans who go the extra mile and try to get up close and personal with idols are a whole nother level of deranged, and I think at that point security has every right to push them away. I have zero sympathy for those people. I don't think that fan culture is going to change anytime soon, especially because this isn't a K-pop exclusive issue, so I think that the solution is more heavily enforced blacklists, and we also need to bring back the one-on-one security tunnel. As fans, though, I think honestly all we can do is publicly shame these people who show up at airports or similar places that they have no real need to be at. Complaining about boy groupifying or girl groupifying a song are stupid. That's what covers are for. There's normally two types of situations where I see complaints, particularly about boy groupifying another group's song or choreo. The first involves silly little TikTok covers. Quite frankly, I think that anyone who's deeply analyzing these less than a minute long videos shot in music show hallways or company dance practices are kind of silly. If you're learning a dance in a couple of minutes for likely one of many TikToks that you're going to be filming that day, I think it's perfectly normal to just learn the basic steps and perform them in whatever manner you're most used to. So if you normally perform in a stronger, more quote-unquote masculine style, of course, if you have 5 minutes to learn a dance, you're going to revert to that style. I think it's great that there are male idols who are willing and able to shake some ass, move their hips, whatever, but I'm not going to expect that out of everyone. I mean, especially after this whole debacle with the Cat's Eye Touch challenges, where we all saw that male idols were explicitly taught a different version of the choreo, I think we all just need to realize that A, these TikToks are not that deep, and B, we don't know why people perform the way they do in these TikToks, and it doesn't fucking matter. Aside from TikToks, I also see these kinds of complaints in regards to more fleshed out covers. While with the TikToks, my problem with complaints about boy groupifying choreos is that it's such a non-issue. My problem with people complaining about covers is that what do they think the point of a cover is? If you're going to perform on stage and performing a song in basically the exact same manner of the original artist, then what is the point of having you instead of the original artist? I think that if a group is going to get up and perform a cover, they should find a way to put their own spin on it, and oftentimes that spin is somehow correlated to gender expression or whatever. That's not to say that I think that you have to like every instance of a boy group covering a girl group or vice versa. I just think that we would maybe be more productive if we were more specific about our complaints. For instance, the recent cover that Nowadays did of Queen Card is getting a lot of flack, and I agree with most of the criticisms. I think that taking a song explicitly about women's empowerment and simply switching the gender roles is just not a good look, and it misses the bigger aspect of what made the song work. The issue isn't simply the fact that the song was performed in a more masculine manner, it's that whoever put the song together simply wasn't using their brain when it came to what song they chose to cover and how they would rearrange it to fit the group that was covering it. I think an example of a good rearrangement would be something like Extraordinary Heroes' cover of Tomboy, for instance, or even the Boys Planet cover of Tomboy. I think in both cases, the covering artists brought their own spin to the original song without fully diminishing its intended message. Because I personally stand more boy groups than girl groups, I mainly see complaints about boy group covers, but that obviously doesn't mean that girl groups don't get shit about their covers of boy group songs either. I have some personal issues regarding vocal tone and pitch that color my view of certain covers, but you'll never see me saying that a girl group shouldn't have done a certain cover just because I dislike it, or that girl groups flat out just shouldn't cover boy groups in general. I think that's stupid. Basically, my point for this whole section is that there's nothing wrong with not performing a song in a style of the original artist, regardless of the setting of that performance. While I understand that there are some valid complaints about men thinking that performing anything but peak masculinity is humiliating, or the fact that people are just allowed to dislike things, I think that the prevalent criticisms that I see aren't genuinely engaging with anything. They're just farming for attention and outrage and don't care about any potentially interesting or important conversations that could be had. I'm going to end this with a much more stupid opinion because I feel like 3 is too little. I'm obsessed with the fact that Monsta X have 2 separate English language songs on 2 separate albums that are both called Secrets, and then on top of that they have a 3rd song called Secret minus the S on a Japanese album, and they're all bangers. I just think it's iconic, and I haven't seen it brought up, and I think it should be mentioned. I presume that because they probably have different teams working on their Korean, Japanese, and American promotions, that these teams were just unaware of the fact that they greenlit these song titles that are all the same, but I just find it so funny. And I wanted to end the video on a slightly sillier, lighter note, and also maybe shine a little bit of a light on Monsta X's B-sides, which are really, really good. And that's it. Those were all the thoughts that were in my head at a given moment. My brain is now empty and ready to be filled with absolute nonsense again. If you enjoyed, I hope you give me engagements to show that you did, and if you didn't, please also give me engagements to show that you didn't, and leave your complaints and criticisms and nonsense below. I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Bye!